going on, boys?
What's up, dude? How we doing?
Doing well, man. Long weekend. Start of a new week. Charleston golf outing next Monday. How was your guys' weekends?
It was good. Worked. It was cruiser week in Ocean City, but we're kind of winding down the last of the event season.
What does cruiser week mean?
Old hot rod cars.
Okay.
Yeah, a bunch of people come down in their old hot rods. Cool
right.
stuff like that. So saw a bunch of cool stuff. Saw the Beverly Hillbillies van. That was pretty cool. Yeah. But yeah, good weekend. Good win by the Ravens. A little hungover, but we got this.
Hey, man. I mean, send onion rings. Giddy up.
Brooksy?
Yeah, I mean, all good here. I actually thought that game was a little closer than I thought it was going to be. So
I'm mildly intimidated by Brooks right now. He looks like a businessman. Like, he looks like he's about to do his taxes or close a deal.
He kind of looks like a villain. Like
some
he should
people
be
are.
petting a hairless cat or something.
Yeah, are you like trying to be like? Are you trying to be Mad Men or something like that?
Some people gotta work around here, you know.
Meanwhile, I'm wearing an NWO shirt.
You're wearing an NWO shirt. Looks like
That might be a spoiler of one of my best sports moments that I wish I could have been.
Jay Hargis goes, I'm surprised Dustin's wearing a shirt.
as I just finished the Mr. McMahon documentary.
Oh, how is that? How's the McMahon documentary?
It's really good. I loved it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. They made him look pretty bad, but
he's
it was
a
good.
dirtbag.
Yeah, he's a bad guy. Are you drinking a Bud Heavy right now, dude?
Yeah, today today's already been a tough day, and I'm not going to get into the details of that one, but it's a Bud Heavy day. I'll put it that way.
Fair enough. All right. I think we can just get right into Ravens Commanders. What did you guys immediate takeaways from the game? Anything you want to talk about in particular? I thought my overarching thought has been the same thought that I've had all season. Lamar was fantastic. The one pick he threw wasn't his fault. The fumble by Linderbaum, I thought I was going to kill someone. But yeah, what we got? Brian, you go first.
No, I mean, the game played out basically exactly as I thought it was going to play out. I mean, and I'm just so happy that both teams are in a decent spot. It actually looks like it's going to be a rivalry for the next couple of years as long as Jaden Daniels and Lamar stay healthy. I really thought it was just a good game, and there were a lot of I still call them Redskins, but there were a lot of Commanders fans at the stadium. Everyone was in good spirits, and even after the Commanders lost, you could just tell they were still happy with the result.
Yeah.
If there's a moral victory, they had it.
Yeah. Brooks?
There are no moral victories. They lost. No, but Jaden Daniels looks like a stud. He really does.
Yeah.
If I were a Commanders fan, I'd be pretty pumped about that showing for sure. I mean, we kind of the Ravens kind of handled that game pretty easily, but I mean, it was kind of. I don't think it was as close as the score said. I feel like that game was never really close in terms of. I mean, they kept bringing it back, and then we'd just score again. Like it was just their defense was never going to allow them to get back into the game. It seemed like.
You know, in previous seasons, we'd be up by 10 points, and I never felt comfortable. Yesterday, I felt very comfortable. And even though we were only up by one score, I felt very comfortable with how the Ravens are playing. And I think you cannot understand how good Roquan Smith is.
Yeah. I felt like the offense could pretty much do whatever they wanted the whole game. If we needed 8 on third down, we could get it. We were able to run. We were able to throw. Zay Flowers was great. Mark Andrews finally got off the Stein, had a touchdown after he dropped that ball that led to the pick in the first quarter. I think it was a really good, well-rounded showing for the Commanders. Feel good for Scary Terry. Finally, he's got a quarterback that's worth a damn. They've had a parade of terrible quarterbacks there over the course of the last, 10 years since RG3. Brian, what you got?
Can you think of the juxtaposition? Like Devontae Adams bitches and moans about every single thing that goes on in his life. Like he has like a bad shit. He has a snake or turd. He bitches about it. Terry McLaurin has had 10 quarterbacks. You never hear him playing at all. And now we've actually got a guy, and he is fucking dominating. And I love it. That's the receiver I want on my team. A team player.
I mean, receivers are notoriously not team players. I mean, they're just They're never going to be. They're the biggest athletes on the field.
It's a diva position for sure.
Well, this guy toes the line, man. He doesn't talk shit at all.
Yeah,
I think Josh Allen wanted to throw a football at Stephon Diggs' head in the locker room.
Yeah, another thing for the Commanders, though, a little bit negative. I think they ran for like less than 40 yards yesterday. Pretty bad showing on the ground. Their leading rusher was Jaden Daniels with 22 yards on the ground. Meanwhile, the Ravens had over 170 between Derrick Henry and Lamar. So I know we're one of the better run defenses in the league, and the game script kind of forced them to pass. But at some point, they're going to need to figure out how to run the ball if they want to compete with better teams in the NFL.
The Ravens have a plus 800-yard run differential between their opponents, which is set to be the best in league history. If
is
it
that
continues
good?
this pace.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's high score.
Yeah.
Revolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we stop fumbling the ball though? I mean, let's not do that. Let's figure that out. I mean, I know the one was on Linderbaum. It just literally slipped out of his hand on the snap, but
yeah,
it's got to stop because that's going to come back and bite us at some point. It almost did last week, so that's going to need to get cleaned up at some point. And that was kind of the story 2 years ago too, when I felt like Lamar was fumbling all the time.
Yeah, I mean, he gets a little reckless with the ball every now and then, but you take it because he's so good. I think he's been really, really good at managing the game, really good at picking his spots on when he wants to run. I think obviously Derrick Henry takes a lot of the load off of his legs. But I mean, I think he's been a lot more accurate this year. I think he's making better decisions. The one fumble a game is probably going to happen, but I mean, I'll take it. I think he's been the best quarterback in the league thus far this year, if not named CJ Stroud.
I think he's better. I think he's been better than CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
And honestly, he's only had one or two fumbles where he was like actually running the ball. The other ones have been on the snap, really. So I can't give him a ton of hell for carrying it loosely because he seems to fix that from 2 years ago because he doesn't do it as nearly as often, obviously. But yeah, in terms of just paying attention to whatever's going on with the snap right now, that's where the fumbles seem to be happening. So
slow start. Do we account that? What do we account that to, or do we just think it was just because we got picked off in the first quarter? It was a slow start for the over bettors too. I know a lot of people had the over yesterday. It was 51.5. It got there with that Commanders field goal in the last quarter. But a slow start by both offenses, it felt like just 6 points in the first quarter combined.
I wasn't too upset with it. I mean, it was kind of like a feeling out period, it almost looked like. And then they made adjustments, and then obviously it worked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love how the team is – sometimes we come out real hot. Sometimes we come out slow. But we always seem to figure it out. And that's going to work out well in the playoffs, hopefully. Because no one's going to give a shit if we went undefeated during the regular season. They're going to ask, what did you do in the playoffs? No one cares if we beat the Commanders by 7 points when we get to the playoffs.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of that's like both teams. I mean, we're trying to establish the run, and it's just the way it's going to go. Both teams had a long drive to start the game for 3 points. So, I mean, we say it's a slow start, but both those teams, both sides chewed up a lot of that first quarter clock with their drive. But speaking of drives, I mean, we had 2 drives in a row. I think it was back to back, backed up 90 some yards. It was to total the 2 drives. It was 197 yards worth of drives and 2 touchdowns. That's amazing.
Big fan.
Big fan of that. I know the Commanders aren't the best defense in the world, but I mean, still. So
yeah. I do think it's interesting that we threw to Flowers so much in the first half. He never got a target in the second half, I don't believe. He had 9 catches for 130 yards in the first half, and then Derrick Henry basically took the game over in the second half for our offense. I actually kind of like that. I love Derrick Henry getting the ball when the defense is already worn down. It's just going to be a nightmare for every defense we play.
Yeah, I think they even said on the broadcast they started bracketing Flowers.
Yeah.
They put their number 2 corner. They put their number 2 corner on Flowers with safety over top the entire time. Put their number 1 corner, I can't remember his name, on Bateman.
Yeah, that's the old Belichick strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Bateman got a couple balls. Obviously, we saw Mark Andrews finally get in the end zone and have a pretty big impact on the game. It seemed like, I mean, honestly, it seems like they're putting more emphasis on Likely, which I agree with. At this point, he's more athletic and can do a lot more in the pass game. But yeah, it was good to see. I mean, it's nice to see that Mark Andrews. Like, if we can't get it to Likely, we still have Mark Andrews sitting there. So
he celebrated that touchdown like he was winning the Super Bowl with it.
I know.
It's crazy.
Like he won a Corvette.
Yeah.
Got the monkey off his back this year.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked earlier in the season. I mean, with the offensive line having its woes, thank God he got paid because he's now a chip blocker.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's been relatively unselfish the entire time. Hasn't said a word about it, just doing his job. And the offensive line again starting to look still looking pretty solid at the moment. After the first 2 weeks, we gave him a bunch of hell. So I got to keep calling that out. So thoughts on the secondary yesterday, guys?
Don't really have much because I was working, so I didn't get a chance to see too much of it. So I'll let you guys go ahead and give any comments.
I thought it was better than last week. I still think there's some holes, but those 2 touchdowns that Scary Terry scored, great throws, great. Especially the second touchdown he caught was an excellent catch. I mean, it's just no playing defense against that. I thought Brandon Stevens actually did a pretty good job yesterday. Brooks?
Yeah, I mean, we all getting some.
Sorry, guys. Amber alert.
Churchville, Maryland.
Yeah, in Churchville.
Yeah, gray Nissan Altima.
Gray Nissan Altima, 4-door.
If anybody's in Churchville, Maryland, keep an eye out. Keep an eye out.
JFK3146. That's the license plate.
Yeah, it's still. I mean, the only guy who couldn't beat you is Scary Terry yesterday, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's a little frustrating. But Eckler. I mean, if we're gonna sit there and go all out on Scary Terry, then he's gonna dump it down to Eckler, who had a decent little game as well. So
yeah, Eckler he took a beating with the Chargers, and you can tell it's starting to get worn down. And he's a stud. I mean, he's a strong Huckleberry, but he's just worn down now.
I still think he looks good. I mean, honestly, I know he's getting worn down, but he's not the feature back there. Brian Robinson wasn't playing yesterday, so he kind of took over the one. I mean, I guess they kind of split with McNichols, but he got majority of the stuff. It seemed like, at least. Yeah. So yeah, it's I mean, going back to the secondary, I wish we could have done a little bit better against that passing attack, especially when I don't feel like there's a ton that can hurt you outside of Terry McLaurin. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's something to build on. It wasn't the worst. It wasn't the worst. It wasn't the best. So we'll see. Who do we got next? We get the Bucks next week.
How about the Bucks? Let's talk about that game for a second. They put up freaking 51 on the Saints. That game was weird too. It was 17-0 in the first quarter. And then the Saints went on like a 27-7 run with Spencer Rattler at the helm. And then the Bucks just went on a rampage and just started scoring touchdown after touchdown. Interesting that Mike Evans only had like 2 catches for 30 yards in that game, but Chris Godwin was going crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, this was super interesting. I didn't watch a ton of this game, but like I'm playing both Godwin against you in one of our leagues, and then I'm playing against Evans in my other league, and I mean Evans ended up with 2. I mean, he was 2 out of 6 with 34 yards.
Yeah.
So yeah, really, really interesting. And the Bucks didn't have their starting running back playing yesterday, who I think Bucky Irvin's going to end up overtaking him for the number 1 slot, which pisses me off for my fantasy league.
They had some guy named Sean Tucker running the ball all over the place
yesterday.
I never heard of him in my life. But he had like 130 yards and a touchdown, so I'm sure he's going to be a big fantasy waiver claim this week. Brian knows a lot about fantasy waiver claims. He makes a lot of them.
He sounds like a bookie.
Speaking of Tucker, our Tucker looked good yesterday, 3 for 3 with a little bit of distance on some.
Yeah, his dick walked in the building 20 minutes before he did.
He seemed like he had something to prove to some Ravens fans out there.
Yeah, the first one, it was 45 yards. It would have been good from 90. I mean, that
Yeah,
ball
he
smoked.
smoked that ball. And he split him.
Yeah, he split them.
And I mean, the flags were like this. Like it looked like it was blowing a little bit.
It was a swirling wind yesterday.
So we get time of possession 36-24. We outscored them, or we outgained them 480 yards to 300. We did have the one turnover, but we had 10 more first downs than them. It felt like we were in control of the game the whole time to me after the early pick. And like we said earlier, I just feel very confident when our offense is on the field. It feels like we're going to be able to put up points pretty much every time we get the ball. It's also good for us because the worst player.
They're fucking awful.
Dude.
Yeah, let's move on to that game. That's probably the biggest, and we all said that this was potentially the game of the week. I know
they should have bent over and cut holes in their pants. They were fucking awful.
Yeah, I know we're jumping to the 4:00 game, but I mean, this is one we got to talk about. I mean, they just got fucking smoked. I think I saw something, or somebody was saying yesterday, it might have been Scott Hansen, that they have not been beat this bad since like 1988 or something like that.
All right,
it's
in their building before Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, like that's the last time they've been beaten this bad there.
They look terrible. Now I'm going to make a comment. They spent $1 billion on a fucking stadium. Did they not take into the fact that the fucking sun is going to be in their eyes the entire goddamn time? Because some of their receivers lost the ball in the sunlight.
Jalen Tolbert dropped the touchdown.
You always play at 3:30 in fucking Dallas, and the sun's right there in your face, and you can't see the goddamn ball. But hey, you got a big jumbotron. You're fucking kick ass.
It's not the first time that's happened either. It's not the first time that shit's happened either. I mean, I feel like that's been happening since the stadium is open too.
Yeah. One thing
they wanted an open hatch so God could watch the team play. Yeah, well, you know what? God doesn't like the Cowboys right now.
I got two things on this game. One about Dallas. I'll talk about that first. They've given up 167 points in their last 4 home games. That includes the Packers game in the playoffs last year. That is the third most in NFL history over a 4-game stretch at home. Gave up 167 points in their last 4 games. Another thing I have on this game, now that we're moving, we'll talk about Detroit a little bit, give them their flowers. Detroit has weapons all over the place on offense. Yes. Can you remember a better running back duo than David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs?
No, it would have to be Cadillac Williams and whoever down in
in college.
Honestly, no. Down in Tampa, it was him and somebody.
I might go Tiki Barber and Brandon Jacobs. I think they played together at the same time.
Or that was a good one. Or Ricky Williams and Deuce McAllister and at the Saints.
Ricky Williams and Ronnie Brown. I would say
Warren Dunn and Mike Allstott.
Yeah.
Look, I think that the first touchdown Montgomery scored, I mean, he just looks like a machine. He's unbelievable, and Gibbs is just so shifty and fast. It's such a great running back duo. I love it. I love watching it. Montgomery got extended yesterday, so they're going to be together for at least a couple more years. But really
taking Gibbs that early.
Yeah,
he took like 12th overall.
Yeah, they took Brian Branch in the second round, and they took Jack Campbell, who's a stud middle linebacker, in the first round as well. And Brian Branch had 2 picks yesterday. Mm-hmm. They've been drafting really well. Really, really sucks that they lost Hutchinson, though. He is probably the favorite to win the defensive. Probably the favorite to win the defensive player of the year. Looks like he broke his leg. He's done.
Yeah, so you took my that's a shame. That's a shame. Aiden Hutchinson going down. That sucks.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it yet, I don't recommend going and watching it. If you're queasy, your leg's not supposed to wrap around somebody else's leg. I'll say that it's bad. It's it's like if anybody saw or remembers the Anderson Silva when he had that kick and wrapped around, it's similar.
Yeah.
It's that sucks. That sucks so bad.
It's no good. Yeah, I mean, do you guys have anything else on this game, or you want to move on to something else?
No, we'll move on to something else.
Yeah, I think Dallas is cooked. Let's stay in that division and talk about the Browns-Eagles game.
I want to say something. There are awkward interactions between Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb on the sidelines. It's just weird.
Yeah. CD seems to be, he's been that way since he's been there, it feels like.
I mean,
so
it's
kind of surprised me
so
that
one-dimensional.
he signed a deal with them to stay there.
They're doing the two things that you can't do. They can't run the ball and they can't stop the run. So, I mean, I don't know how they're going to win games. I just don't know what they expected. Let's talk about the Browns-Eagles game. This game was 0-0 for most of the first half. I think the Eagles aren't very good. Remember what we said last week? I don't think the Eagles should be favored by 9 points over anybody in the league. I think the Browns are terrible. They obviously can't move the ball. I think they went 30 straight drives or 30 straight third downs without getting a first down conversion or something like that. It was a stat that sounded made up when I read it. But the Eagles barely hung on and won this game 20-16. I think there's a big problem with the Eagles, and I think Deshaun Watson needs to be sitting on a bench.
I agree. Deshaun Watson definitely needs to be sitting on a bench. Speaking of, let's that I don't understand. Did you see at the end of the game yesterday, Sirianni was going at the Eagles fans there?
Yeah, I did see that.
Even though they won, so he's got to be feeling it right now. So I mean, I know they won, but they should be smoking the Browns. That's for sure. So let's I want to go through before we move any further, since we're on our third game already. Who's won each of our picks this week that we've gone over. So we already did 49ers and Seahawks. What was the score of that game?
49ers won and covered.
So Niners won and covered. Bucks 51-27.
Yo, Baker.
Yeah, cooking.
I want to get into this real quick with the Bucks, and I'm going to talk contracts. This is exactly what NFL teams should model their franchise after. Baker took a mid-level deal, which allows the team to put weapons around him. And you're seeing it when he scored 51 points.
Yep.
As opposed to, and I'm not making fun of Joe Burrow, you sign him to a massive deal. Now T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are pissed off. They're struggling. They're 2-4. They're paying Burrow so goddamn much money that they can't pay the rest of the team. This is what NFL franchises should do. And I understand it's not the player all the time. Sometimes it's the agent who needs to get a bigger deal to make himself look good.
Yeah, and we get to play them in Tampa next week. That's going to be fun.
Be a good game. I actually like Tampa.
Good game. I don't know. The line's 4.5. I'm scared. I think our secondary is definitely going to be tested. Godwin in the slot's going to be tough, man.
They're going to get cooked.
Yeah.
They're going to get cooked. So we all won the San Francisco game, so that's kind of awesome because we usually don't win team rides. All right. Looks like I took Brian and Dustin won the Ravens. I lost that one. We also Bucks. That's another team ride, and that was an easy one.
Yeah.
And it looks like Brian's the only one that took the Browns between the three of us. Sean Floyd took the Browns as well, but Dustin and I both lost that one. All right, well, I'm caught up now.
Do you think Kevin Stefanski goes to the microphone just being like, I want to fucking bench Deshaun Watson, but he can't because Twitter is telling him to play him?
I don't think he could say. I think he's just got to bite his tongue. I think everyone knows it's not his fault. Obviously, he's won a coach of the year or maybe two over there. I think that organization is completely dysfunctional. Obviously, getting rid of Baker Mayfield so that you could clear up the room to get Deshaun Watson in the building. You send Baker away for a 6th-round pick and eat $10 million of his contract so you can send him away. And now he's putting up unbelievable numbers on the Bucs, and Deshaun Watson is the most inept quarterback in the league. I mean, it's just it's brutal. That whole situation is terrible, and that organization is completely screwed.
Dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Jerome Ford's out now too. He went out in the middle of that game. I know Chubb is on his way back. He should be back soon, but yeah.
I mean, if they're honest with themselves, sell the farm.
Yeah.
Sell it.
Trade Cooper, trade Njoku, any of your weapons, just
trade Miles.
Yeah, you gotta
get picks.
You gotta move.
Restart.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't even do that. I mean, I would just be honest with themselves and just fucking get rid of Deshaun. Like, just
they can't.
It's if they move off of him, it's $172 million in dead money.
It's dead money if he plays. I mean, what the fuck the matter?
You're right. It's really bad. It's really bad.
Start new.
You know what's good for him? Karma is a bitch. That motherfucker, he like fleeced like the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission, and he paid his way out of jail for this. I mean, he runs like pilot like gas stations. This is karma coming at you.
He's settled more lawsuits since he became a member of the Browns than he has thrown touchdowns. That is a real stat.
Nice.
Not good. Not good player. Not good guy.
He's a trash.
Joe Flacco would be doing pretty well there, I bet.
You want to talk about Joe Flacco?
Speaking of, let's move on to Joe Flacco.
How about that? I had Josh Downs' first touchdown yesterday, and that was awesome. Also, how did Michael Pittman go from he's going to go on IR to leaping 8 feet in the air to catch the game-winning touchdown?
No idea.
Toradol is a hell of a drug.
It's crazy.
He's not
going to feel good today, I'll tell you that much.
Didn't watch a ton of this game, just basically saw the highlights because I don't really have any interest in watching Will Levis play football anymore. But good for Joe Flacco. I think he's got 8 straight games with 2 or more touchdown passes. It's got to be the best stretch of his career.
He has, I think they said the past 4 or 5 games, he's like the best quarterback in the league over the past 4 or 5 games. That was before yesterday's game with like in terms of like passing yards, touchdowns, and everything. Like he's been just lighting it up. Like nobody has more than him. Good for him though. I mean, how does somebody like, I don't know, obviously he's not going to be a long-term solution for somebody, but if somebody needs a quarterback and wants to win now, like, I mean, say the Panthers, like why doesn't somebody bring him in to be the starter for a year or two? I mean, he's obviously not one of the worst. I don't think he's I think he's still a top. I mean, how many teams are in the league? 32 teams. I don't think he's 33. I think he should be starting somewhere.
I think that over half the teams in the league would be better immediately if he was their starting quarterback. Yeah, the Raiders, the freaking Broncos, they're a dumpster
Broncos. Fire. I mean, I know the first round with the Broncos wasn't great with him, but
yeah, that's true. I think it's pretty bad. Did you guys have any thoughts on this game in general, or did you watch much of it?
I didn't watch it.
Yeah,
I didn't watch a ton, but like that one throw to like we were talking about the Pittman after he was supposed to go possibly on the IR, and he goes up and gets it, and it was one of those Flacco throws where he just fucking flings it up there and it's like, all right, jump ball, go for it.
Yeah, I love that. What's the next game on the slate, Brooks?
We need to go back to Jags Bears. Worst game of the week, probably.
Oh my God, leave Doug Peterson in London.
I don't think he's going to make it home. He's got one more game there next week, I believe, and then he'll probably get fired on the way back.
So yeah, they're playing again in London. I think against the Patriots.
But I feel bad for the people in London.
I know it's Jags, Patriots, and honestly, I think he gets fired after the game, regardless of whether they win or lose. Trevor Lawrence looks terrible. They did drop a couple of throws, dropped a couple of touchdowns, including Brian Thomas, who I had bet for anytime touchdown. Dropped one right in his hands, but that team looks terrible. I think the Bears are decent, but I don't think they should be putting up 35, 40 points on anybody.
But again, Caleb Williams, I mean, that was nice to see him that was kind of his coming out party. He looked pretty damn good there.
Yeah, he has looked pretty good. And they're getting their weapons involved. Keenan Allen had, I think, probably one of his better games of the year. He was looking a little bit better. Still not a ton of DJ Moore and Romo Dunze. I think their roles will increase as we move later in the season, especially if Caleb is going to get more confident and probably start throwing the ball a little bit more. Can we talk about the NFC North, by the way? It's the first time through 6 weeks that a division that all 4 teams in the division have had at least 4 wins through 6 weeks. That's never happened before in NFL history. Best division of football by a mile right now, right?
Yes.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
the Vikings are undefeated, and they could miss the playoffs if they lose 2. Like, there'll be 2 games. They lose 2 games. They're in the bottom of the division. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. That's my first league, my first win in that league for the Ryan Ripken Show League. Finally. He put up a 30 burger just about.
Brooks, did I beat you in fantasy this week?
Yeah, I also started a not that it would have mattered, a kicker that's hurt.
Yeah, you started a kicker that got 0, and I started a receiver that got 0, but it didn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, I needed Jamar Chase. I needed Jamar Chase to go off last night.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of that game. Did you guys? What happened? I just saw a long touchdown at the end. It looked pretty boring.
It was like watching molasses go down tree bark. It was terrible. Sad.
Nice.
They covered. Why? What happened? Like, how can the Giants? What happened in the game? I literally don't know.
Nothing.
I didn't watch
literally nothing. Like, it was terrible. It was awful to watch. It was like watching Army football. They just ran. They did shitty passes. Malibu's Most Wanted didn't look that great. Joe Burrow.
This is where we need Jay. We need Jay to talk about the Giants here.
Oh, and the Giants are fucking awful. I mean, they are so they are.
I'll say this. I don't think the Giants are awful. I think their quarterback's fucking awful. I think if they had a decent quarterback, they'd be a whole lot better.
I think if their coach had hair, they'd be good. He's terrible. He's going to get fired too.
I think if they had Joe Flacco, they would probably have a winning record right now. They'd be 500. I mean, he could make Malik Neighbors look like freaking, I don't know, Randy Moss.
I mean, Darius Slayton's a decent wide receiver.
Wandale's a good little slot guy.
I don't think they're as bad as their. If they had like I said, if they had a decent quarterback, I think they have a pretty good record. I think it's that. I think it's.
You are what your record says you are.
All right, Mr. Parcells. Thank you.
God damn it! The stupid camera.
Brooks is back in his fishbowl. Yeah, I don't have a ton on that game. Like I said, I didn't really watch much of it. Next game I want to talk about in particular is let's talk about Green Bay, Arizona. I thought this was going to be a little bit more of a back and forth. I actually picked Arizona to cover this game. I thought they had a chance to be a little frisky. Kyler didn't really play very well. They couldn't run the ball at all. Marvin Harrison Jr. gets concussed in the first quarter. I'm sure that doesn't help. But Jordan Love throws 4 touchdowns. He looked pretty good. What do we think about these teams? Do we think that the Cardinals are going to start kind of going away, and the Green Bay is going to start? I think the arrows are pointing differently for these teams. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I thought Kyler would at least keep this thing decently close, just because their offense is pretty good. But to be honest with you, Jordan Love didn't look great last week from his first week back from injury, but looked phenomenal yesterday. So I agree with you. I think they're starting to find their water, both of them.
Right.
I mean, they just don't seem like they're in unison. The Packers right now.
And they just won by 20 points yesterday.
Huh?
They won by 20 points yesterday.
They still don't seem like they're in sync. I'm sorry. I mean, even though they won, they just don't seem like they're in sync. Like the Ravens, while we're 4-2, they look like a team that's actually on the come. The Packers seem like they're a little still floundering, even though they won by 20 points. I know that sounds absolutely asinine, but if the Ravens play the Packers right now, I think we beat them by 10 points.
Okay, so you're cautious. You're not going all in on them, especially in that loaded division.
And I think they're a great organization. I just think they're probably still working shit out.
Yeah. I mean, look, Love misses a couple games. It'd probably take him a little bit to get back into sync. I think the biggest disappointment for the Packers has been Josh Jacobs. He's not been very good at all this year. He's not playing terrible. He's averaging 4 yards a carry, which is okay. But he's just kind of he hasn't found the end zone. He's found the end zone one time this whole year. He's also never caught a touchdown. I found this out a couple weeks ago. I don't know if I mentioned this, but he's got the most receptions of any player in NFL history that's never caught a receiving touchdown. Josh Jacobs. Isn't that crazy?
Interesting. Yeah, is this a product of them just not using him enough, or?
He's getting carries.
Is he?
I can't sit here and say I watch Packers games like religiously, so I don't know the answer to your question. But he's a decent running back, so maybe they're not using him enough.
Yeah, maybe their offensive line's not very good. I don't know. I don't know much about it. I know they lost Bakhtiari, but he hasn't played in like 8 years anyway.
Yeah.
Moving on to Texans Pats. Did anybody watch any of this game? I saw some highlights from Drake May, 3 tutties. That's pretty cool.
I watched a very little bit of this game in the beginning because I had Tank Dell going in one of my fantasy leagues. So I wanted to see how he played with Nico Collins out, and he played pretty good. He had a touchdown. I think he scored the first touchdown of the game. But what I've seen of the Texans, Stroud has been unbelievable. I think he's been, like I said earlier, I think he's been up there with one of the best quarterbacks in the league thus far. I think he completely turned that franchise around, and I think it's good for them.
Yeah. I think I saw Nico Collins to the IR, so at least 4 weeks he's out, which started this week. But they think he's going to be out probably a little bit longer. So like you said, they've got wide receivers everywhere down there, it feels like. So they'll be fine. On the flip side, Pats, I know it's game 1. Pats look like they might have found a little quarterback for the future. We'll see.
Yeah. We'll see how they fare in London. I think before Caleb Williams won today, I think the rookie quarterback record in London was 0-5. Obviously, that changed today because Caleb Williams kicked the shit out of Trevor Lawrence. And we'll see if that trend can continue. I think the Pats have a chance to beat the Jags. I think the Jags are terrible.
I think the Pats will beat the Jags.
You think so?
Yeah.
He's calling a shot. Look at that. I love it. Not a ton more on this game, but I think Mixon really makes a big difference for the Houston offense. I think they looked a little out of sync without him. I think now he's back. I think it steadies them up a little bit.
I think it's time to call out Trevor Lawrence, like in the media.
Oh yeah, they are. They're starting to
100%.
So
his in New York, he would get crushed.
Oh,
his last 11. I guess his record the last 11 games.
He was the hottest thing since Panther Pockets.
2-9.
The hottest prospect since Andrew Luck coming out.
He's
and
one.
I'm sorry. He needs to take flack at this point.
He's 1-10 in his last 11 games. That's not good.
And he just got paid.
He just got paid, especially for a team that was on the rise with him playing well. Went to playoffs and beat the brakes off us a couple years ago too. So, it's got to be. Are we blaming this on Doug Peterson? What's going on? Like something's got to be going on.
Peterson will be the fall guy for sure, just because they have so much invested in Lawrence. They can't make a move, especially not right now, from him. I think Peterson. I think he gets fired on the plane ride back from London next week, regardless of whether they win or lose.
Yeah, I agree. Evan Ingram this week, though. First week back, 10 for 10, 102 yards, but he had a fumble.
Picked him up in a couple of my fantasy leagues. Very excited about Evan Ingram.
Yep.
Next game, you want to do Chargers Denver?
Yep.
It was 23-0.
It was 23-0 at one point. Apparently, it's the second time this has happened with Jim Harbaugh, where he had some sort of an arrhythmia or something like that. Do you guys have more information on this than I do?
I saw it was he went to AFib, and I'm a little versed in this. One, because of my own situation, but also my father. And that's scary. Like, you have an irregular heartbeat, hard to catch breath. You feel like your heart's pounding out of your chest, and especially if you're in a pressure-packed, stress situation like he obviously was. get the fuck off the sideline, man. And apparently he's going to be okay. But, I mean, that's scary.
Yeah, I think this is what like Urban Meyer always said he had too, I believe. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, I mean, the guy's a tough son of a bitch, to be honest with you. Like, he just went in the blue tent, got checked out, started feeling better, and went right back on the sidelines. I mean, I just don't think he's ever going to quit coaching. I mean, even if a doctor says, "Hey, you should probably stop," which they might have already told him that, like, you should probably stop, and he's probably like, "Fuck that, this is who I am." So I'm all for it, especially if he knows all the facts, his family's on board. They're like, okay. And
I mean, this might be an unfair comparison.
Go do what you love. Go do what you love, I guess.
Yeah, maybe an unfair comparison, but he reminds me a lot of Joe Paterno in regards to lifelong coach. He will coach until he dies. The minute he stops coaching, he will die.
Well,
and I don't want that for anyone.
Coaches till he dies, or he coaches till he shits his pants. One or the other.
He strikes me as a guy that needs the competitive juices going through his veins. If he doesn't have it, he feels worthless.
Yeah, like Joe Paterno did on the sideline one time.
Yeah, look, I think Sean Payton's built a pretty good defense there in Denver. I think they're pretty decent, but I don't think Bo Nix is very good. They were down 23-0. They scored 16 of their points in the fourth quarter, the Broncos. But the Chargers were in control of this game. J.K. Dobbins was just running and running and running.
They're wasting a good defense in Denver.
Yeah.
I will say Belichick was talking. He thinks that he's like, I'm seeing a lot of improvement out of Bo Nix. I mean, obviously he's well more versed in this than we are. And there's more than just points on the board sometimes, but he's like, I've been pretty impressed with the strides that Bo Nix is taking. So I don't know what it is, but I don't know. I think Sean Payton's a hell of a coach. Obviously, he's gotten that defense to play well, and I don't think anybody thought their defense was going to be worth a damn. And they're beating a couple teams here and there that I don't think anybody else thought they would do, and they're in cap purgatory right now with Russell Wilson. So,
yeah, and they got a white corner, Riley Moss.
Thank you. I told you,
opposite Patrick Surtain.
If they wear those jerseys, those baby blues with the orange helmets, they will win every game. If they didn't wear them, they got smoked.
Those are their new color scheme and jerseys.
Socrates.
Socrates. Did anybody watch Atlanta, Carolina, or Pittsburgh, Vegas? Do you have any thoughts on those games?
Pittsburgh, Vegas, one of the worst games I've ever seen in my entire life. Justin Fields, he won the game. He's terrible. Russell Wilson must absolutely be beating his dick in the goddamn tunnel, being like, get me in the game. But hey, look, good for the Steelers. They're going to be 9-8. They're going to be in the middle of the draft, and they're not going to get a quarterback. And Mike Tomlin will absolutely try to trade up to get a quarterback because they are awful.
Yeah, I mean, they put up 32 points yesterday, but I don't know. I'm with you, Brian. From what I watched, it was boring as hell. So I don't know where the 32 points came from.
There were so many scores that were not indicative of how the team played.
Yeah. I did
not look good.
I did not watch 32 points. I did not watch any of this game, but from what I've read and heard, basically Fields didn't play very good, but they just won because the Raiders are completely inept.
Another team wasting a good defense.
AP might lose his job before the end of the year too. And then I saw that I didn't read too much. I didn't read too much into this, if this was just like a messing around thing or not. From why am I blanking on his name? Their pass rusher for
Crosby.
Crosby pushed somebody, one of their coaches. I don't know if it's the D coordinator or not, but just straight up shoved him on the sideline.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't have a head coach who tries to hide a gun from the cops because Plaxico shot himself in the leg and act like he's a good fucking human being. Give him a 4-year deal, and all of a sudden, everything's going to be bonbons and fucking peaches. Now, Antonio Pierce is an actual douche.
I don't mind him. I don't mind him hiding the gun.
Well, yeah, you can see they're pushing people on the sidelines.
I don't know what that has to do with hiding a gun, but okay.
It looks like team dissension. They look like the Raiders.
Hey, the Raiders are going to Raider.
They look like they're dysfunctional.
They do.
Joe just left a comment on the broadcast yesterday. Romo and Nance said Harbaugh is a surefire Hall of Famer. He says he's not sold. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I'll say yes. Any man that can stay in a position for this long should be in the Hall of Fame already, because you take a job to get fired. Also, he has a good winning percentage. I think it's in the 600s. Got a Super Bowl, and I think he's won 2 Coaches of the Year. I think 2.
Yeah, I think he's a lock. I think he'll continue coaching for a long time, but I think his record speaks for itself. I think he'll definitely be in the Hall of Fame at some point.
Bill Cowher getting in opened the door for a lot of one Super Bowl winning coaches. And Bill Cowher was a great coach, but he didn't have the numbers to support it.
Yeah.
Now, he stayed in the media, and he's very well liked. John Harbaugh is very well liked. Yeah. He has a Super Bowl, and he's won a couple Coaches of the Year, and he's been with the same team for forever. Look at Bill Cowher. So I believe he's going to go into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I was surprised when that was brought up, just because it's probably something I haven't thought about, to be honest with you. And it feels like every year Ravens fans start clamoring at some point when something's going on to fire him, just because I feel like that's how Baltimore fans are at times. They jump. I mean, they don't think about long-term stuff. They're just short-minded sometimes. And they're just like, oh, this game was terrible, fire him. But yeah, I got to agree with you guys, especially if Cowher's getting in, especially if people like Madden were getting in. He just doesn't like Madden. Madden didn't have the numbers either. I mean, he had the percentage, of course, but he didn't have the numbers in terms of he didn't coach for very long.
No, and he was a big proponent of coaches should only be in the league for 10 or 15 years. It shouldn't be a lifelong thing.
Well, I mean, and this is kudos to Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh. Sometimes a locker room will tone you out, and they have been able to keep their locker rooms. In fact, Mike Tomlin probably does a better job. I mean, remember how we didn't know anything about the Antonio Brown for a long time. He hid that.
Yeah, and
Le'Veon Bell, yeah. Last game is Falcons-Panthers. Didn't watch a minute of it. Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson basically split carries. Tyler Algier actually had 3 more, but they both had almost 100 yards, a couple touchdowns. This is a nothing game. This means nothing to me because it's the Panthers. I think they're the worst team in football. But the Falcons' offense has been looking pretty good the last couple of weeks, so I can't knock them.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch a ton of this either, but yeah, 38-20. Andy Dalton still seems like he's running that offense a little bit. I mean, they're putting up some points, so
yeah,
obviously they're getting beat 38-20. But I mean, he threw up 20 points with a shitty fucking team. So
yeah,
Chuba Hubbard looks good.
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard from
Canada, Oklahoma State. He went to Oklahoma State.
He's a poke. Yeah.
Yeah, but you love Canadian people. So and he's from Canada and he went to Oklahoma State.
That's not necessarily true.
All right, Corey Connors.
I saw Nick Taylor on the golf leaderboard this week, and I almost sent you guys something.
I mean, he loves Canadians that win him money.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I hate the Maple Leafs just because of you, Dusty.
Why do you hate the Maple Leafs? What did they do to you?
I don't actually at all.
Oh, hockey's back. And that's
Caps lost.
By the way,
lost 4-3.
All right, I'm going to say it, Brooks. I'm going to say it, Brooks. Right turn from the left-hand lane. How awesome is the Utah Hockey Club name? That's fucking killer.
They're just called the Utah Hockey Club because they're so it's awesome. I love their owner too. The whole story behind this, Dustin, right? They're the Coyotes.
Okay.
The Coyotes moved there and they're on a rental basically to Utah at the moment. So
and the name is a rental. They're still workshopping it.
So and I don't think they've figured out yet if they're officially going to move there, or I think they're still trying to figure out shit in Arizona right now or in Phoenix with stadium shit and everything like that. So basically they're a rental to Utah at the moment while they try to figure out if Utah is going to if it's going to go well enough for Utah to get an expansion team or if they're going to stay there and or if they're going to go back and they're going to be the Coyotes again. It's a really weird situation. But that owner also owns the Suns, or not the Suns, the Jazz, I think. I forget. He owns something else, but he's a young guy. He's like in his 40s, self-made billionaire, like and super forward thinking. And yeah, the Utah Hockey Club broke the record for beer sales in that arena. Like that has been there since like 1991, since like Karl Malone was with the Jazz. Was like
mailman.
Was the when they broke that, or when they set that record or whatever. They broke it on the first night. And so it seems like Utah's is going to have a team, whether they stay or whether they get an expansion team, because it looks like Utah wants a team.
How does a dry state break a beer record?
I don't think they're a dry state.
I think they should change their name to the Utah Commanders.
I like they were workshopping. They had like 6. I like the Yeti.
Yeah, they had
just one Yeti. Yetis or just single Yeti?
Yeti one.
It's like Stanford. It's like the Stanford Cardinal. Just one.
And their mascot's a tree, which makes total sense.
Which is why you won the mascot draft, by the way.
Team
tree.
It's a tree as a mascot.
Right, so the 6 finalists are the Utah Blizzard, to keep the Utah Hockey Club, Utah Mammoth, Utah Outlaws, Utah Venom, and the Utah Yeti. And I kind of have a sneaky suspicion that McAfee might be in the ownership group on this one at some point.
He's close with the owner.
Yes, yeah.
I like the Utah Blizzard. Sounds
cool.
You
keep it down over there, my man. By the way, this gentleman right here, hell of a dude. This is the gentleman who is responsible for Delaware Dave getting called an amateur cunt.
Like I said, Delaware Dave, amateur cunt.
TMI, I'm sitting on the hopper in my house, and I hear a neighbor come out. He had his this gentleman right here had a Savile truck outside, and the neighbor had a newborn baby, and he came out and started screaming at him. Delaware Dave comes out and goes, "Cool your jets, cool your jets." The guy kicks Delaware Dave, calls him a child, and then called him an amateur cunt. Great line. Heard all this from my toilet. And then Del goes, "You just go around kicking children? I'm a child?" Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, see, maybe go ahead.
Oh, man.
I swear to God, man, I can't make up my life.
Staying in that area of the country for a second when we're talking about Utah, let's go to Idaho for a second and talk about the running back for Boise State. I know we talked about him last week, but he had another 200 yards on the ground. He's got 126 carries in 6 games. He's got 1,250 yards, 17 touchdowns, and he's averaging 10 yards a carry. This might be the best college football running back in history. We're on pace. He's on pace for 2,400. He's on pace for 2,400 rushing yards and like 35 touchdowns in one season.
Yeah, and I don't care who he plays. I don't care if you put up those numbers. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. You're still running through fat men on the other end of the line.
Yeah. Do we have any other games to go over?
We can talk about the game tonight. Bills Jets. Preview that a little bit if you want to. What do we? I know we already did our picks on Thursday, but do you guys have any differing feelings, or do we still feel the same way? I think Brian, you were on the Bills, and me and Brooks were on the Jets. You like first coach fired or the coach fired? Yeah, right.
First coach fired. I bet $100 on the Jets. Right.
Yeah, we all went Jets here, plus 2.5. Yeah. Honestly, if the Bills don't look good in this game, I mean they're not trending in the right direction right now.
No, they definitely are not. And I don't believe Khalil Shakir is going to play in this game. He's been their best receiver this season. I think he missed last week as well. Really, really tough. I mean, we said before the season started, look, there was like something like 250 targets that they had to make up in this offense, losing Gabe Davis and losing Stephon Diggs. And with Khalil Shakir out, who's been clearly the number one option, they're going to have to really lean heavily on the rookie Keon Coleman. They're going to have to lean heavily on their 2 good tight ends, Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, and their running game. I believe James Cook is playing in this game.
Yeah, I think he is. Honestly, the Bills don't have shit to throw to besides their tight ends. It feels like.
Yeah.
It's
rough.
And yes, Joe. I think I've had multiple people ask me if Brian Rogers is Bert Kreischer. So he does kind of look like him.
He's just taking a shirt.
There you go, Joe. Ready? Go dance.
Let's dance.
Oh, Bert Chrysler.
Bert
yeah.
Chrysler.
I think the coach firing thing is real. I think they're going to have some mojo tonight. I think the Jets will come out, and I think the Bills are going to be in a rough spot. If the Jets win tonight, they're in first place in that division. They will have the tiebreaker over the Bills, obviously, if they win tonight.
So
I think our narratives are going to switch quickly.
Should be a good game. I mean, and to be honest with you, this is what I hate to be that guy, but Rodgers did say, like, hey, we're either going to be the worst team in the league or the best team in the league. And then this week is the one where the narratives are going to switch. If they beat the Bills, everyone's going to be like, oh shit, they're number one in their fucking division now. They could go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they really need to get Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson going, I think.
The best part of this team is their defense. I mean, their best player is Sauce Gardner.
I agree. Quentin Williams.
Yeah.
Quentin Williams is phenomenal, but I think Sauce Gardner is probably the best player. He's probably the best corner in the league right now.
Probably.
Him or Surtain, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, their offense needs to pick it up. I mean, and look, I know I beat on Aaron Rodgers all the time. Their offense is the problem.
It is right now. Yeah.
No hiding that.
It has been. They changed they got rid of Hackett is now just in the background. I don't know what he's doing, but he's not calling plays anymore. Their passing game coordinator, I believe his name is Todd Downing or something similar to that.
Yeah, he used to be the offense coordinator for the Titans.
Yeah, he was calling plays the last couple years, the last couple of Derrick Henry years in Tennessee, I believe.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that makes an impact. I actually kind of excited to watch the game tonight.
I mean, it's a meaningful game, so I'm excited.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Yeah.
What do you think the best team in the NFL is right now?
Kansas City.
I mean, do you really think that after watching
I'm taking the Ravens, and I know it's biased, but I'm taking the Ravens.
I know, like I agree, and I agree with you, Brian. I mean, talent-wise, and the way teams are, and the way they're playing right now, it feels like the Ravens are Houston. I know we're going to sit here and say that like Kansas City's Kansas City and their record, and they're the two-time defending champ. I get it, but I mean, just eye test. If we're just looking at it, like it just looks like the Ravens would have stomped them if they're playing week one like they are right now.
Our team travels, and in any weather, we can throw, we can defend the run, and we can run the football.
Yeah.
I'll take that. Kansas City still scares you because Patrick Mahomes is a fucking anomaly.
It scares me because they're still trying to figure out who they are, and it looks and we were kind of in that spot the first 2 weeks trying to figure out how to use this offense and how to figure out how to both have Derrick Henry and Lamar, and how can we feed both and make it work.
When you get into January, you need to be able to make a stop. You need to be able to run the football, and our team can do that.
Does it scare you? Do you think we're peaking too early?
No, it doesn't scare me. In fact, I actually enjoy how we're doing it because we're getting close games. And I always talk about adversity. I think adversity is fucking huge factor.
Yeah.
Like you need to be in close games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know how to win. Yeah.
Yeah. That Cincinnati game gave me a whole, I mean, obviously everyone, I think we're all a little worried about the defense and the secondary. Well, I should say the secondary. But like, it's nice to see us come out on top in a game like that. And not be the ones that lost by a field goal.
I mean, you used to see Lamar on the sideline banging his helmet and all this shit. Now he's just like, I'm going to fucking get it done. I'm going to get it done.
He still does
you got Derrick Henry. You got Patrick Ricard. Run right up the goddamn middle. If you see 600 pounds of man coming at you, I'm going to fucking fold.
By the way, Lamar and Derrick Henry, 1,107 combined rushing yards in 6 games. Is that good?
I'll score.
I mean, they're amazing. It's so much fun to watch. It's the dichotomy of the offense is so great.
And
but
I love
I honestly, going back to the original question, who's the best team in the NFL? If it wasn't for Aiden Hutchinson breaking his leg, I could say Detroit's right in that conversation too.
You could make the argument for sure.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, I always say this: either take the home team or the better quarterback. If the Lions and Ravens played each other right now, I'll take Lamar.
Yeah. Over Goff. Yeah.
And I think, I think the Niners and KC are scary just because I don't think they've figured it out yet.
Yeah, I mean, if McCaffrey can come back and impact the game in any way, I mean, the Niners are going to be terrifying.
And their defense hasn't looked up to snuff either, like they usually have.
No,
which is
they've been hurt too.
They are. Greenlaw's out for the year, obviously, and they do have
Hufunga is a really good safety. He's been out. Bosa's always, banged up. Both Bosas are always banged up.
Do we make any trades?
Do we make any trades? I don't see it. I don't think so. I think that Devontae Adams and a couple other guys will get traded at the deadline. I don't think it's us going to be going for them.
I want Max Crosby, dude. I want him.
I mean,
I would love it. I don't think they do, just because they just brought in Ngakoue and he played this week too. Didn't really hear his name. But yeah, it's we're just not in the. I don't know what the price tag is for Crosby in terms of his contract. We're just not going to go after a defensive end or a pass rusher that just.
I'm going to go white racism. High motor dude, never stops. just he gets after it, dude.
Really intelligent player.
Yeah, first guy in, last guy out. Yeah. Sneaky fast.
Let's give our props to Ronnie Stanley too. He's been playing great.
Yeah. Brian mentioned that last week.
And we have rode him for the past year and a half, I feel like, about his play.
Oh, yeah. More than that. I mean, he couldn't stay on the field, and he was a turnstile when he was. And he's been very good. A buddy of ours
was the trainer for the Ravens. Said he was just so soft.
Mm-hmm.
He's manning up this year. Give kudos to when it's due.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on football or anything else before we do our snake draft?
I don't know if being a trainer for the Ravens is something to brag about, because they always routinely get the worst grade in the NFL every year.
Who's
one of the worst grades? Our trainers and athletic staff.
Yeah, they got
which is an indictment. I mean, they're at the bottom for the last 3 or 4 years. Like something's got to change.
Yeah. I want to do another. That's a shame. I watched the Oregon-Ohio State game.
Oh, my God, dude.
Wide receivers spit on the Ohio State receiver. What are you doing?
Say what?
The wide receiver for Oregon spit on the defensive back from Ohio State. He got kicked out of the game. He was like their number one receiver. Now, Oregon still won the game. Great. Are you a moron?
Yeah. I thought that That's a Shame was going to be the quarterback for Ohio State trying to mount a comeback and just diving with no time on the clock and ending the game. What an idiot. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, is that That's a Shame then?
Yeah, I don't have much, yeah.
And that kind of goes to my, they haven't had adversity at all. Ohio State hasn't had adversity all year. They got in a fucking pressure cook situation, didn't know what the fuck to do.
Yep.
Well, they haven't played anybody really worth a damn either this year so far.
Well, they paid $23 million for a fucking football team,
which isn't really their fault. I mean, some of the teams that they've played when they make the schedule 7 years ago, they were decent teams. But that's a shame is Texas coming out and planting the flag on Baker Mayfield's jersey on something that happened 10 years ago. And I loved Baker's response and said, "Hey, I love it. I love that I've been living rent free in their head. That the last time, I haven't played that last time that happened when I did that was 10 years ago." So,
dude, Baker's the guy that you don't want to fuck with. He's going to come back with a quick quip.
Yeah,
Baker's the man. I like him a lot. Yeah, I think I'm ready for the.
You moving on to our snake draft?
Yeah. So this week's snake draft is going to be
Let me get a beer.
Sports moments or games that you wish you could have seen live. Obviously, we'll do all sports here. We're not just going to limit it to the 4 major sports. We might even throw a little sports entertainment in there. if I have anything to say about it.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
But yeah, Brooks, you want to go over the results of our last couple snake drafts?
Yeah. Big announcement, huge announcement. Brian gets not only his first win in the snake draft, his second win, and he went.
Call me Bert Kreischer. I want to go by Bert Kreischer now.
And Bert went back to back. Bert Chrysler went back to back. Yeah, big news. We thought he was going to go an entire year without winning a snake draft, and not only did he not, he just took us back to back jacks. So
yes, he did. And
I'm going to win this week too, baby.
And because of that, in our sports draft that we're doing today, Brian gets the first overall pick. Brian, sure. What is the sports moment that you wish you could have seen?
First one that came to mind, right when we made this up, the Miracle on Ice, 1980.
I think that's a good answer. It was on my list as well. Hold on, I'm still typing out the graph here. Brooks, who came in second? Who's going to be going in second?
You're second.
Oh, okay. So you came in last, loser. For me, this is really easy. I will go second. I'm taking the 2019 Masters, where Tiger Woods returns to glory. That is absolutely. It was either that or 2008 at Torrey Pines when he won on a broken leg. The Rocco Mediate one, but I think it's got to be the 2019 Masters.
Yeah, that was my number one overall draft pick. Let me go back to my other list here. I always do these on the fly. I mean, I'll go baseball here. I would have loved to see if this was real or not, if Babe Ruth pointing and calling a shot.
That was on my list as well. Babe Ruth calling his shot. That would have been awesome.
If it happened.
If it happened. We're going to go under the impression that it did happen, though.
You know what's
Brooks,
great about it?
You get
got to guess if it happened or didn't happen.
Yeah. And then my other one is going to be, where was it? Hank Aaron's 715th home run.
That's a great pick. I didn't even think about that.
Yep, 715.
My number 2 is going to be the 2006 Rose Bowl game where Vince Young took on Matt Leinart in USC. I think that game was amazing. I remember me and Brooks and my dad watched that game on TV in our living room. Brooks was a fan he was rooting for USC, and I think my dad and I were both rooting for Texas. But amazing game. Vince Young was lights out, and Reggie Bush, obviously, and Matt Leinart still in that game. I would love to have seen that.
Great call. I'm going to take Jackie Robinson's first game.
That's awesome.
And I'm also going to take the Gorilla in Manila.
Gorilla in Manila. Can you give us a rundown of that for the viewers?
Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman.
Got it.
Ali Boumaier. Ali Boumaier.
I'm going to go with the kick 6, Auburn, Alabama. From 5 or 10 years ago, the kick came up short and he returned it for a touchdown. That was probably one of the most electric things. Can you name the
guy that returned the kick?
No. Chris Davis, I believe.
Chris Davis. Well done.
Chris Davis.
Yes.
Yeah. Kick 6. Brooks, you get 2 in a row now.
I am going to go with, I would love to see that 2004 Red Sox comeback against the Yankees from 3 games down, 3 games to nothing.
Game 7? Or
yeah,
just
I guess
the whole series. Yeah.
I guess. I mean the whole series, if you want to get technical, the completion of it, I guess. But I just thought that was awesome. And I think that's going to be really hard to ever do again.
Yeah.
And let's see here. Do I go with that one? Yeah, the other one I'll go with is the I think it's the 2001 World Series with the walk-off from Luis Gonzalez.
Luis Gonzalez, yeah. That's a good one.
I fell
Looks
asleep.
just going all baseball right now.
Yeah.
All 4 baseball. I love that. He's a baseball guy.
My last one will not be.
Oh man. I think Tony Womack was on deck.
Womack. Junior Spidey.
Give me the 1998 NBA Finals Game 6. MJ pulls up at the free throw line, hits the dagger against the Utah Jazz to win the finals. I would love to have seen MJ in his prime at any point with that game in particular. I've seen the highlight of 4 million times. That would have been so awesome.
Who was the defender on MJ?
Stockton or Malone? I don't know.
Byron Russell.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
MJ, the Kobe stopper, right? Is that what he is?
All right, I get 2.
Yeah, you get 2 to finish out your finish out your draft.
I'm gonna go with Usain Bolt's world record in the 100 meters.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go. I got a lot of honorable mentions. I'm gonna go Tyson versus Holyfield when he bit his ear.
Wow. Yeah, that would have been sweet to be at live. If you guys will allow me, my final pick will be WrestleMania 17. Rock versus Austin, and also the first ever tables, ladders, and chairs match between the Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys, and Edge and Christian. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I'm wearing the NWO shirt. I got to put that on there. WrestleMania 17.
You like Canadians, you like wrestling, and you like the Replacements. You are such a redneck.
I like what I like, dude.
To round out my draft, give me the David Tyree helmet catch.
Wow. Okay, so we're going with the 18-0 New England Patriots playing against the Eli Manning led wild card team and the Giants. That was awesome. That would have been awesome to see live. Yeah, I think we did a good job here this week. I think everyone's got pretty decent list here. Do you guys have any honorable mentions?
I do.
What do you got?
I have Lou Gehrig's speech.
Okay.
NC State over Houston, Jim Valvano.
Okay.
Secretariat at the Belmont.
Okay.
George W. Bush's first pitch after 9/11.
Yep.
So I kind of
Jesse Owens telling Hitler to go fuck himself at the Munich Olympics. Brandi Chastain, 1999 Women's World Cup. And this one's not sports related, but it happened at a sporting event. Whitney Houston's national anthem.
Okay. I got the Delman Young double. It's the only playoff game in that stretch that I didn't go to. I had school that day. I had class. I could not attend, but I remember watching it, and it was insane. I wish I would have been there. I have the Willie Mays catch in the Polo Grounds, the famous catch. I have Ray Allen's clutch 3 in 2013 Game 6 against the Spurs that saved the Miami Heat from losing. And I have the David Freese game, 2011 World Series Game 6, where David Freese hit a double off the wall and then hit a home run to bring the Cardinals back.
Such a closet good call there, Dusty. I mean, people forget about that.
That game was unbelievable.
He went oppo-boppo, and Nelson Cruz did not track that ball well.
Yeah, Nelson Cruz bouncing off the wall. He has an absolute cannon from right field in that game, though. Do you know who the pitcher was who gave up that hit?
Yeah.
Bud Norris.
It was not Bud Norris.
You mean for Detroit?
No. Who gave up the David Freese? The David Freese double.
No, I don't.
Verlander. I didn't hear you.
I believe it was Rangers closer Neftali Feliz.
Neftali Feliz.
But yeah, I could be mistaken about that. He was the closer at the time, and I believe it happened in the ninth. So I'm just assuming. I also have down goes Frazier. Frazier versus Ali, I believe. Yeah. Brooks, you got anything?
I mean, I would say like Kirk Gibson's home run.
Yeah.
His pinch hit home run. I'm surprised nobody said the Iron Man streak. We might have all been there though.
I even thought about putting it in, but I was like, it's going to look like I'm just biased as hell because we're all Baltimore guys.
Yeah, but I mean, you love the pander.
Yeah.
You picked Oriole Bird and Testudo the other week.
and then but he won.
He did win.
The 49ers catch in the back of the end zone.
The catch.
The immaculate reception. What else? There was a couple other ones I had that I was going through. I was in between. Joe Carter's home run.
So, fun fact about Joe Carter's home run. So, he kept the ball. He put it in his junk drawer in his house. And Dan Patrick said he went over to Joe Carter to like interview him. He still worked like CNN at the time or something. And he goes, "Do you have the ball?" He goes, "Yeah." And he opened it up. There's like pens and batteries and a home run ball.
That's awesome.
The ball's probably worth millions of dollars.
Oh my God, yeah.
One that just came to my mind: the Stanford band running on the field.
Oh shit!
That would have been crazy. The Music City Miracle, where Frank Wycheck throws the ball backwards.
They lose on the one.
Yeah. 2002 Maryland versus Indiana, the Jared Jeffries stopper. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's probably the only other ones I have too that I can think of.
So
the band is on the field. That would have been a good one.
I didn't think about it. Damn it.
Yeah. We got probably another pod this week. We're going to do NFL picks like we always do, right? We'll let you know when that's going to be. We're going to have to discuss that amongst ourselves. I'll get a graphic going for this snake draft that we just did, so that you guys can vote on Instagram or Twitter or wherever you get your Gary Williams Stole My Lawn Furniture stuff.
Possibly Tim Meza, Yankees reliever on. We'll see, since they are in the ALCS now. So might see if we can get him on to chat about what's going on with them.
More stuff to come. Obviously, like I said, we'll do the NFL picks for Week 7. We're looking forward to Bills Jets tonight. And Bri, you got anything you want to say before we go off air here, brother?
No, I say I say it every week, man. My favorite part about this podcast is being able to talk to you guys, talk to people. I'm working on getting a sports psychologist on and a mental health professional to kind of come in and talk generalized questions to kind of just have a good conversation about how you can help your friends. And I want to say this right now. I have a friend named Mike Wallace. He was my teammate in college. He called me last night out of left field. I haven't talked to him in a decade. And he said, "I watched your podcast. You talk about mental health." And he goes, "You were my captain when I was a freshman. You were a senior." He goes, "You pulled me aside and told me, get your shit together, and we're going to be better because of you." And it broke me down. And that's what I always talk about. And that's why I say this every time when we end these podcasts, is because calls like that mean a lot to me. And I know it means a lot to other people.
Oh, yeah. I mean, awesome. I always say, too, if you think something nice about somebody, say it. Give them a call. If you think a funny story about somebody, like Brian just said, doesn't have to be a funny story. Give them a call and say what's up. So,
yeah.
Other than that, I'm good.
Yeah.
See you guys Thursday. We're going to try to get we need to talk in the group about this, but try to get a more set schedule. I know we're usually like Monday, Thursday. We'll probably stay around that time, but we're going to get a set days and times that we're going to come on. And then if it changes, then we can just announce it That way people know when and where to find us every week. They don't have to keep guessing. So,
all right.
Thank
you guys very much. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you probably on Thursday.
See you, boys.
Love you, boys.